but I'm not exactly I'm not informed of everything about it.
Yeah, I don't know how you can be libertarian and progressive at the same time.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Well, I
that
think
doesn't make
okay,
a lot of sense.
I think anarcho-syndicalism. Let's see, I'm reading about it on Wikipedia to get an idea. It's a it's a theory of anarchism, so I guess it's kind of like for a minimization of state, but it views syndicalism or I guess worker unions as a method.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So union workers. So what exactly does that entail? Explain
If
that to
there are
me so I
any
have an
if
idea.
there are any legal protections for unions, okay, then basically that's anti-free market and anti-competition because it's not allowing individuals to sell their labor on a free within the naturally occurring checks and balances of the free market. Labor needs to be compensated by its value, not for some other reason. You know, it's like if I'm going to hire somebody, I'm going to pay them what I'm going to pay them is based on how much value they bring to the company. They're not going to be. It's not going to be based on like how much a person in the abstract deserves to make. We like to have this fucking weird notion that there's some deservedness that's inherent that without we just choose to ignore the implicit obligation part that goes with the deserving part. You know, if somebody's truly deserving of some sort of entitlement, that means somebody's obligated to give it to them. Nobody wants to talk about that part, right? They just want to talk about the deserving part. Well, when you have things like freaking, you have just artificial things in the market that prevent things from naturally going as they ought to, then you end up with imbalances that ultimately all it does is the economy grows these cancers uh, to deal with government. So it's like how many H&R blocks are there in the fucking world? You know, it's like why are there those H&R blocks there? Well, because not only do they tax you in such a ridiculous way that you have to pay somebody to help you pay them the money they're stealing from you. It's absurd. There's a business near the DMV called car registration that will go and do your car registration for you so you don't have to wait in line. There's a business that
Yeah,
you
that's
pay them to help you pay the government for a piece of paper that does nothing and you don't want. It's insane. That's what happens when you think these centralized fucking regulations are going to stop creative, fluid, independent free agents from doing what the fuck they want. Your codifications do nothing except justify the violence you perpetrate against the citizenry.
I I bet you would totally be down to come on and have a discussion. I would love that. I would fucking love that.
Yeah, I'm always down to talk politics. I like it.
I
I
love discussing politics, even though mine are still in the process of being developed. So I love all of it.
Well, as you
It's
start
so fun.
feeling increasingly invulnerable, as you learn all the arguments, you know, you start feeling increasingly invulnerable. Because most people have strong political opinions, but very little development of the argumentation that ought to be there to support the strength of the position that they hold.
I'm surprised how many people view like kind of the standard of living type of thing, where they believe that everyone should be they deserve a standard of living, they deserve free healthcare, etc. Which is kind of foreign to me, you know, because it doesn't really seem based on any certain idea.
So I'm gonna approach that from a psychological standpoint. I don't know what this phenomenon or effect is called, but it's basically people defending um, wherever they land on the spectrum, right? If they are on the lower to middle class, then they're gonna defend where they are because they want to have them and their family protected, right? But if they're the upper class, then they're gonna want, if they're the top 1%, then the top 1% are gonna take a position where their position is in favor for themselves,
That's
right?
bullshit.
That's why they'll argue for themselves, right? They're not gonna argue for an argument where
That's the problem in democracy.
That's bullshit
yeah
though too. It's bullshit because look, just because somebody's poor, it doesn't mean they are going to be making their argumentation out of self-interest. The tendency to argue out of self-interest is related to, I would guess, type way more than socioeconomic status. Because, look, for example, I was in a recent election here in Temple City. I had a daughter in Temple City schools, and they want to put a fucking bond up to where they increase people's property taxes in Temple City to pay for this new school shit. I don't own a home. I rent. And so, no skin off my back, I get all the benefits. Fuck yeah, I voted no on that shit. Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though I'm not a property owner in Temple City, I don't approve of paying even more fucking taxes. Why is it, given the amount of tax dollars the government takes from people, that they have to borrow money to do the only thing they're supposed to be doing in the first place, which is building fucking infrastructure?
Hmm. Well, okay, maybe the self-interest factor isn't.
See, okay,
Maybe.
what made me upset about Neff, she was arguing those people, her argument was basically like those people in a certain class that vote towards things that don't necessarily benefit them are experiencing a form of cognitive dissonance, which
Mhm.
I think is complete bullshit. That's complete nonsense. And I hate that was her argument. That fucking
Well,
infuriated me.
what I hate is deeper than that. Why are we assuming that it's in their interest to vote for horribly ill-advised economic policies that redistribute wealth and weaken the state of the nation and presume things that aren't true? It's not a good idea to do something that harms everybody, including you, just because it gives you some short-term little benefit. And to presume that poor people must think that's the case is to presume that poor people are stupid.
Exactly.
I wonder, man. I don't want to make it. I guess I'll just make the assumption. I think she was trying to present the idea that people are put in a position so that they think that they're doing something in their best interest, but they
Yeah,
don't actually know what's going on.
she was playing this thing that people play, right? It's called paternalistic leftism, where they
Mm.
go, we are the advocates for the disenfranchised, the poor, the fucking marginalized, and all that other words they use, right?
Hmm.
Well, no, what you are is you are the grand reducer of individuals.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You're desperate to reduce free and unique individuals to members of a socioeconomic group so that you can baby them.
Yeah, fucking exactly.
Do psychologists do that because, or even sociologists do that? Let's say, there's high, I don't know, murder rates in a certain place in Detroit or Chicago, right? And then a person might argue, or even a psychologist might argue, how it's a negative feedback loop, and they're reducing it to not the individual, but to the actual bad environment, and it's because of that environment, and that creates individuals that seem bad.
Well, then why are organizations such as Black Lives Matter attacking? Why aren't they addressing the issues within the communities themselves? Then, like you said, they don't want to talk about that shit. They want to blame it on an entity such as like the white oppression and etc.
Well, but look, one reason why Black Lives Matter is, I think, maybe not subject to that particular complaint is that it is focusing on the fact that there is institutionalized violence being perpetrated by the government and its officials in which they are ignoring the natural rights of some of the citizens. Their claim that it's because of race is bullshit. But it doesn't matter that that part is bullshit in the sense that they're not they're not being motivated necessarily because they don't want to talk about shit that's going on in their own community, or they don't think that violence, you know, when that kid shoots that kid, they don't think that that's a bad thing or important to talk about. What they're saying is basically, for every one of those, the cops kill one of them are community members too, and so But the difference is when my neighbor's kid kills my other neighbor's kid, one of them goes to jail and one of them's dead. When the cop kills my neighbor's kid, he gets a medal at the cop station for heroism and goes home for a nice turkey dinner. That's the problem, is the injustice, you know? There's so much more injustice involved when the cops are killing people.
Hmm.
But the problem with the Black Lives Matter thing is that it helps the cops. That's the problem with it. They need, anybody who's saying Black Lives Matter, marching around with a sign like that, is saying, oh, I want the cops to keep getting away with this. Yes, I do. Because I'm making really fucking bad arguments. It's a bad
I
argument.
think the way you put it in that one video with Abraham is they're kind of agreeing that this such as racism, they're agreeing that, hey, this thing that you guys are arbitrarily, throwing people together and grouping them together is a real thing, and we're gonna act like it's a real thing, and kind of accept that what you're saying it has some fucking actuality when they're not addressing the individual rights.
Right. It's like they're going, we're attacking you because you've got unicorn face. Well, unicorn face isn't even a thing. So why the fuck are you spending all your time insistently building huge cases saying you don't have unicorn face and ignoring the fact that he's attacked you? That's the problem. Not whether or not you have unicorn face. Right?
Exactly.
It's like I picture this person who's being like stabbed and beaten with clubs going, he said this word, he said that word. It's like, that's not the problem. That's not the problem here.
If the Black Lives Matter group if they want to be more effective, they would want to kind of have people, I guess, whether it be ENTPs or INTPs, good people with people with the ability to actually put up good, strong arguments so that they could be represented with strong arguments, and then that would be helping their cause, right, or their position.
Yeah, I mean, if I somehow had like, here's your grassroots movement group, Eric, direct them to make slogany signs. First of all, I'd be in heaven, and it would be the most absurd protest ever. Some of the signs would be totally legit, and some of them would be just complete nonsense. Some would have be signs with like critical thinking words, or critical theory words, like it'd just be a series of words like disenfranchised! Exclamation point. The simulacrum! Exclamation point.
Would it
embracing the other.
well, okay, okay, it makes me think of let's say O.J. Simpson, right, has a lawyer or a team of lawyers, and the lawyers, they don't really care if O.J. Simpson killed somebody or not. They're just gonna do their best to present a strong argument that's gonna win and that's gonna be effective, right? Would that be comparable? Like, if they wanted to be effective, they just have to have good representation.
Well, that wouldn't work anymore.
No, not in court. Well,
not the race thing. The race thing wouldn't work like that anymore. Now the thing is,
right.
In that instance, he was being charged with shit, and he was accusing the cops of planting evidence and stuff.
Oh.
The reason that wouldn't work right nowadays is because even though people would be less likely to believe the cops, and they might be likely to believe the cops guilty of that sort of racism, what people are up in arms about right now is the cops using violence, not the cops investigating haphazardly, So I don't think that would necessarily carry a lot of weight. But the thing is, what the advocacy needs to do is demand that the police answer a couple of simple questions, and hammer that question, and then build the capital that necessarily comes from their avoidance. So it will require persistence. They are expert at not answering questions and coming up with reasons for not having to answer questions. So what you got to do is you got to find a question or two that is damning, that they have no good answer to. You need to hammer that single question or two over and over again and publicize the fact that they will not answer this question as the central story. And do that over and over again until basically the cops have to answer the question. and you
Yeah.
got to break them down one question at a time. Look, cops are first and foremost there for each other. You know, I mean that's the thing to remember about cops. They, no matter what they tell you, they will stab you in the face 100 times before they'll tell on their buddy.
Mm.
So I mean they're among the least trustworthy members of society for sure, and it's unfortunate that we have such untrustworthy individuals as our police, but we clearly do. So I mean there's no doubt about that. They lie all the time. They perjure themselves constantly because every time another cop does something, they will build a fucking Eiffel Tower if that's what it takes to cover up for their buddy. As is evidenced by the 16 fucking LA County sheriffs who
Yep.
beat the shit out of some random guy who wasn't even a prisoner at the jail, just a visitor, and then generated this huge fabricated story in which all 16 of them were like on board on it, and they all supported each other's lies, and then eventually, after several years with the video evidence that was available, they finally got them like prosecuted, a couple of them and stuff.
Yeah, damn. There's a whole subreddit. There's a whole list of a collection of those instances. I can't remember what it was called, like something injustice, something, and most of them go, most of the time there's no poetic justice, but sometimes there is. But there's you can see that over and over and over and again. It's just interesting. Well, another idea. I was wondering if never mind.
I don't know. The thing is, I've never actually had any problem with cops. I just read the stories in the newspaper and stuff, and I just don't like the fact that they represent Americans' willingness to cede control, to cede authority to people without ever stopping and going like, wait a second, that's just some random dude. You know, people are so bought into the uniform and shit like that. That's the thing that's weird about it. It's like,
it became part of their identity, right? It's I don't know.
and they're influenced by tone too so much. If you walk into some place and just sort of carry yourself like, yeah, I'm entitled to be here and I've got important things to do, and you walk up into some place that's got normally that people would wait or do something, and you just sort of walk right up to the person and say, hey, now listen, I've got a lot of important things to do, and you sort of like point at things. They'll be like, oh, well, go right ahead, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's just tone. They're carrying themselves. If you carry yourself with certain authority, you can do whatever you want. When I was in China, it's hilarious because they are so trained to defer, and they also have this weird thing about Westerners, and I mean, there just were no rules for Westerners. I could just go wherever I want. I just walk around places, and I just pretend, like there'd be a sign that says in English, "Don't go back here." I just go back there, and then they say like, there's a and they point the sign and go like, yeah, that doesn't apply to me. And I just keep walking.
Yeah, I think that's I've heard stories about that in Japan as well, where like a white dude, he was like a pickup artist where he would game on girls and then he would be really pushing their limits and like touching them in such a way, but the women, they can't turn him away because they're like, oh, he's a white guy, and he's just doing his thing, and he's really holding his frame. So I guess I'll just allow him to keep touching my my hips and my breasts and everything because he seems to be carrying his frame. I'm not gonna break that frame, right? Like
carrying his frame.
Called,
that's an interesting term. What is that? Is that like a pickup artist term or something?
Yeah, it really is. I think it's very. You could transfer it to other pursuits as well. Like whatever you hold, it's like an act. Maybe it's like an act, right? You hold your act. You don't break character. So let's say you approach a girl, you don't break character. The fact that hey, you're a guy of high status and or, I don't know, whatever image you're trying to put on. You don't break image. You don't break character. Yeah. The thing about what's it called? You saying about how having such a tone can be very effective with people. That's also called social engineering. Like people have been able to, sneak into certain institutions or, fool security measures, or retrieve passwords from a customer service hotline, just by putting on an act. Right?
Having the right tone.
Tone and other little tricks too.
If you have
Let's
to,
say you're. Go ahead.
if you have to deal with like customer service agents or secretaries, you're trying to get past a wall that's trying to stop you to talk to the person you need to talk to, or in general, if you think you might have conflict and you're dealing with somebody in like a businessy or whatever kind of capacity, if you ask them questions, it doesn't even matter what the fuck you ask them. Like, you know, what did you have for breakfast this morning? But it has to be something sort of related to the issue you're talking about. And you go, so, and you write it down, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my god, I gotta. They're completely befuddled by it just because you wrote something down. You just write a little scribble on a piece of paper. It doesn't even matter what you write down. They assume you got some big plan in mind, because you wrote something down on a piece of paper. You must have a plan to do something with that.
Talking about how to fuck people.
No, I'm saying
Social
if somebody's
engineering.
giving you difficult time, like a secretary won't let you talk to the person you want to talk to, or they're giving you the runaround. You want something and they're trying to get in your way because that happens in life. Like I wanted this kid to go to a different high school because she wanted to go to a different high school and was out of the district, and I wanted to make that shit happen. I had to get around that secretary. I'm talking about a battle I lost in particular but I would have fucking won it except my wife decided to leave like right that week, so I had divorce shit going on. But anyway, I had to get past that secretary. I got past her, but what happened is between the time it took me to get past her, it was a Friday afternoon, the first time I got past her, and she must have given the heads up to the lady because by the time I got past her, the lady had left for to go home.
So the student never made it to the other high school.
No, she had to stay at Arcadia.
Uh,
Oh well. But it's a good technique. I learned that from my old boss, actually.
So how would I utilize it exactly? Let's say someone's fucking being annoying in general through something. How would I utilize that technique? Do I just walk up to
no.
them and then pull
No,
out like a
it
notepad and
has
just
to
like
be an institution with protocols. Okay, that's where it works. It could be a business, it could be a government agency, it could be a school board type thing, which is a government agency usually. Some sort of institution with protocols. Because then when you start writing things down, the way it works is the individual who is, won't work on the owner, obviously, unless you're a government person, right? But everybody's afraid of getting in trouble. It's this weird thing that happens when people with employment is that because I think it's because of the way we were trained in school that we worry about getting in trouble at work like we're little kids. I mean, and there's a certain amount of like, well, I mean, but they're paying you, so you have to fulfill their expectations, and then they can bust you if you don't fulfill their expectations, that kind of a thing, right? But I mean, think about it, it's really weird. It should just be like, well, I need you to do these things because these are necessary to make this much money, and I think you produce this much value. If you can produce this much value, I'll pay you that much value in cash. Um, and then it should just be an issue of like, well, I thought I could produce that much value, but it turns out I'm a slacker. I can't really. Oh, well, do you want to do less, and I'll give you a little bit less money? Can we find a sweet spot here? Like that's how it should be with employment. It shouldn't be like nobody should be getting other people in trouble. Adults shouldn't be getting other adults in trouble. It's ridiculous. The big problem I have with my last boss is she thought she should be able to get me in trouble.
yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Okay, so
Uh,
anyway, I've been recording for the last 25 minutes. I think I'm going to stop this one, and then I'm going to probably hit the hay here pretty soon, but maybe we want to have a little staff meeting before bed, I don't know.